Hello, everyone. So today I'm feeling a little down. Um, the reason I am, well, not necessarily the reason, but the reason on the surface that I am is because I spent a lot of time today in person with somebody who's really, really negative. And I just soak up negative energy. I'm not going to call myself an empath because I get tired of hearing that all the time. But I do soak up negative energy, unfortunately. Um, so usually I and probably other people as well would say, this is the reason that I'm sad today. This is the reason I'm feeling down. This is the reason that I'm depressed. And it's not actually the case. We store stuff in the back of our mind and we don't deal with certain things. And when we encounter or are around a really negative person, for some reason, their negativity can bring up the things that we should have been taking care of in the back of our mind but haven't. I'm talking about mentally, whether it be some kind of insecurity, even if the person didn't even talk about it, whether it be some kind of personal insecurity, maybe some kind of issue you haven't really decided what you're going to do on, something that makes you feel afraid, um, whatever you haven't dealt with. If you encounter negativity from various people, quite a bit of it, then a lot of those things can come forward and really mess with you as an individual. But, only if you let it. But I mean, most of us aren't complete stoics. So a lot of us do not have the same resistance as somebody who could resist everything like that. So I'm very much a normal person. So yeah, I still get affected by things like that. A lot of people that I know are surprised by that. Sometimes I don't know who to talk to when I'm sad or depressed. Not necessarily that I don't have people that in my life that I could, or that I think that people that I know don't have advice. It's more like I just after all those hours of therapy throughout my life from various traumas, but also just the result of schizophrenia and a lack of being able to really handle emotion very well. Call it physiologically. I've heard, I think, most people's uh, opinions and advice that the vast majority of humanity would say in a situation where I'm having a problem. And unfortunately, none of it really helps. But it doesn't necessarily not help because it's not good advice. I never feel like it quite applies to my situation. It doesn't feel like it has the flavor of what I'm going through. It feels more like copy and paste rather than some unique and legitimate perspective. And I don't mean to sound like a douche, but I rarely hear good advice in general from people. Part of it is my inability to really use the advice to my advantage and make it apply to my situation, or perhaps just truly hearing somebody out and hearing the advice and just working from there. Truly taking it as something that's valuable. Perhaps I don't take advice and I don't see it as valuable. That could be something to do with my ego for sure. Because if I could truly use the advice that most people would give, if I could truly manipulate it in a way that would help my situation, then I wouldn't be quite in this situation. But once again, that's one of my flaws, something I need to work on. Um, it it doesn't get the further along your spiritual path you go. A lot of people think that, or your magical capabilities. A lot of people think that emotional problems just kind of naturally or easily more and more easily solved. A lot of the time that's true, but sometimes if you keep enough stuff in the back of your head and you don't deal with it, it's gonna come forward right when is the least proper time for it to come forward. Um, it's there are some sources of advice that say things that I've never heard before, and they're always good. And one of them is Sadhguru. He always has advice I've never heard, and that's very good advice. A lot. I can name maybe on one hand how many individuals in this world that I've listened to the advice and be like, wow, that is wonderful. I don't mean to be pessimistic. I don't mean to sound like a dick, even if I do. But a lot of the time, humanity feels lonely. It feels like maybe it feels lonely to you too. We're all isolated in our own ways. We're all trying to reach out, but we have all these prejudices as far as how we reach out and who we reach out to. Um, I will say that as somebody who mainly cares about spirituality and magic, um, there's not as many of us as there are other kinds of people, I guess. Um, and that does get lonely because usually a lot of us have to reach out through the internet because there's just not a lot of people around us that practice these things or have perspective on these things or can talk about these things. So that can be isolating and lonely, but it doesn't have to be. But it is for me. But I can and will overcome this. But there are times when it feels like I can't. So my a part of me was like, what do you call it, stiff up a lip or something like that, or carry on or something like that. I hate phrases like that. I don't want to tell you that. Um, I don't have a good solution to what I'm talking about, but I thought that maybe if I talked about it, maybe some of you would commiserate, and perhaps you could talk about your own stories. I'm always willing to hear somebody's story, and I'm also always willing to hear advice, even if I don't take it. So if you have any stories or comments you'd like to put on this video, shoot them down in the comment section below. If by any chance you're somebody out there who really needs to talk, feel free to contact me at www.facebook.com/Hunter period Salazar, HUNTER period SALAZAR. You can hit me up on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger. That's what I'm implying. And if you're not if you're polite, then I will respond to you. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. Continue forward towards your self-realization and have a wonderful day.